even holding this event. What we need right now is we need more senators like Konni Burton. We need more representatives like Molly White. I'm proud that she's my representative. And the reason I say that is because we need strong-willed legislators that aren't going to bend to the political establishment. The people that you see on this stage embody that promise that they will not bend to the political establishment, that we will not have our campaigns run by the political establishment, and that when we get to Austin, we will not be dictated to on how we will vote on bills. So it's an honor for me to be up here with Dr. Mayes, because to me, the fact that we are here says something, and it should say something to each and every one of you. And I've probably only got 2 minutes left, but my name is CJ Grisham. I am a recently retired Army First Sergeant. Probably many of you know who I am if you're local. I've been in the paper a couple of times. But what I really am is I'm a principled, long-standing, liberty-minded conservative. I believe strongly in that document that I took an oath to support and defend over 20 years ago. And that is to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. I took that oath. It's a lifelong oath. It will never go away from me. But now I want to take another oath to support and defend the Constitution of the state of Texas. And I want to make sure that we create a state that, in enforcing our Constitution, force the federal government to abide by their Constitution. When we talk about backbone, we had some great legislation that would have made Texas strong that died because of what I call squishy Republicans. We've had too many of those squishy Republicans in Austin. And quite frankly, this legislative session, I was frustrated and I was angry. And I said I can either keep complaining about it, I can keep going out there and being a troublemaker on the outside, or I can be a troublemaker on the inside. And so this wasn't something that I ever aspired to. I'm doing this because I believe in liberty. I believe in our constitutional principles. I believe in the founding principles, not only of this state, when we left the Mexican government, but as a country, the liberty that we have here in Texas. We should be the strongest and the freest of all the 50 states. This is the home of Gonzales, the home of the Alamo. This should be the state that leads the country in telling the federal government, no. Your unconstitutional mandates stop at our border. That's where it stops. And as your senator, that's something that I am going to fight very strong to ensure, is that Texas is not dictated to by Washington, D.C., and I'm going to need your help for that, and I thank you for having me today.
I'm honored to be here with CJ, a true patriot and a true conservative. He is a conservative. And I'm Brent Mayes. I'm a Christian, a retired physician, and former small business owner living in Texas, in Fredericksburg, with my wife, Fran. All my life, I've had a disdain for politicians. And now I am one. What changed? My attitude changed. All along, I've known that this fallen world is headed south, that things are going to get worse before they get better, before the Lord returns. I've chosen to sit it out in the small town, old-fashioned tranquility of Fredericksburg, where the darker side is mostly hidden. Just leave me alone. Let me live my Christian life with my Christian wife, in my Christian house, and my Christian church, and fellowship with my Christian friends. I can't do it any longer. I can't stand idly by and watch the enemies of God and freedom destroy everything that has made this nation a state great. It started out slowly, but over the past 10 years, our descent into godlessness and tyranny has proceeded with jaw-dropping speed. The time is coming when we won't be allowed to live peacefully in our own homes. We'll be forced to choose between good and evil. You're against same-sex marriage, but want to stay quiet and be left alone? Not an option. Positively affirm it or suffer for it. You want to say in your child's education? Not an option. Shut up and sit down. Government knows best. You want a choice in your medical care? Not an option. And so it goes. Bottom line, Texas is under attack, and it's time to stop complaining and start fighting to save her. Our northern border is under attack. We're under attack from our rulers in Congress, the presidency, and godless black-robed justices who tell us they are the definers of marriage, not God. We're under attack by the enemies of freedom who want to change us from a nation under God to one under the state. They want to control our schools, our government, our resources, and deny our freedom of religion. It's time to assert our states' rights. It's time to say no more. The federal government gets its constitutional powers from the states, not vice versa. No. No to same-sex marriage. No to the EPA regulating rainforests. No to those who kill the innocent in the womb. Our southern border is under attack. We're being invaded by illegal aliens, drug and sex traffickers, common criminals, and almost certainly by terrorists. Washington, including Republicans, wants open borders. We're on our own to fight this invasion. It's time to pass E-Verify in sanctuary cities, in-state tuition, and non-emergency social services for illegals. Senate District 24 is a district under attack by the urban cities that dominate the state. To Houston, San Antonio, Dallas, and Austin, we're the equivalent of flyover country. They want our water, our taxes, and our resources. They make laws and regulations that benefit them but hurt us. They pass down unfunded mandates and senseless regulations.
Thank you, Mr.
We
Mayes.
must resist their overreaching. What?
That was 5 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
Why?
I gave you some extra time, too.
I follow rules.
I don't want to be mean, but I also don't want to be too unfair between you two, so.
Well, and we have the others have to have their comment.
Thank you very much. Okay, let's see, I'm going back and forth here. I think I'm going to start out with, Mr. Mayes, could you tell us what do you think is the single biggest issue facing Texas today?
The single biggest issue facing Texas today is border security.
And these are 3 minutes, so you'll get 3 minutes on this. Would you like to expand on that? What would you like to see Texas do in terms of?
Yes, as I said, the federal government's not going to do anything for border security. They want open border security. So we need to do, we must do what we can do. And we can in sanctuary cities. We don't need the feds to do that. We can implement E-Verify, public and private. We don't need the feds to do that. We can stop in-state tuition for illegal aliens. We can stop non-essential social services for illegal aliens. All those things we can do, and we must.
Thank you. Mr. Grisham?
Absolutely border security. For the last 15 years, I've worked in counterterrorism in the United States Army and with a focus on counterterrorism. And I've seen firsthand what's come across that border. I've seen it from its roots, where it starts in Central and South America. I've seen it from its roots in the Middle East. If you don't think that the enemy knows where our weak spots are, then you're misleading yourselves. Because if we know that we have a border problem, I guarantee you the enemy knows we have a border problem. And it's something that the federal government wants to tell you that we can't fix. That we're not allowed to because it's a federal issue. And quite frankly, this is one of the things that I'm talking about when we talk about the federal government telling states what to do. We have the constitutional authority to protect our borders. It's written right into Article 1, Section 9 of our Constitution. We have that authority to do that. So what we do is a lot of the things that Mr. Mayes already mentioned. We end sanctuary cities. We cease giving any state funds to any city that continues a policy of sanctuary. We end any type of public assistance that is given to somebody who is illegal, no driver's licenses, institute an E-Verify system, and basically make Texas so hostile and uncomfortable for illegal immigrants that they go somewhere else, and eventually the other states will follow suit.
Thank you. And Ryan Downton has joined us, and so we're just going to go ahead and let him join in right away on this question. If you would, what is your opinion on what is the biggest issue facing Texas today?
We have so many big issues facing the state. To me, one of the biggest ones is failure in leadership at both the state and federal level. Here are some comments about border security. The federal government has absolutely abdicated its responsibility to secure the border in Texas. And the state needs to step forward and take action on its own. At the state level, we've had failures too. We don't have E-Verify. We should. Water is a huge issue that's going to continue to face the state. We don't have an adequate plan to deal with the water situation. And I do want to apologize to all of you for being late tonight. I had a flight that was delayed, and I told my 6-year-old son that he could come with me and I had to pick him up. So I had to choose between getting here on time or getting him. And I'm never going to be a full-time politician. My family's always going to come first, but I have so hard
to Okay, and again, these, the answers, you get 3 minutes on these, the time, and again, our timekeeper, Mr. Downton, in case you didn't know, is right here, so he'll give you kind of a 1 minute and a 30-second warning, yeah. Okay, I'm going to start with Mr. Grisham. Please recommend a program, commission, or agency you might be willing to cut or eliminate. And if you can't, please explain why.
You know, I've been looking into this a lot, and there really are a lot, and the problem is they've got their tentacles all over the state. But one of the very first ones that I've noticed that really needs to go away is the Lower Colorado River Authority, or regional, I'm sorry, the LCRA. That would probably be the first thing that I would abolish and try to bring local control back to our water supply. We also have, and maybe I'm just not a smart enough guy, but we have a Department of Banking and a Department of Credit Unions. Why do we need two? I think we can combine them. I don't even know why we need them to begin with. I'm trying to find their purpose, to be honest with you. And so those, just right off the bat, those are some of the ones that I would do. I think I would also like to get rid of printing any materials, any publicly funded signs, papers, anything in any language other than English.
Mr. Mayes, same question.
Texas Film Commission.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Texas Film Commission. I get rid of that. I don't think we need to pay people to produce what I think of as pornography. They can do that for free. And also the commission, what's the name of the commission that sends money to get businesses to come to Texas? The Texas Enterprise Fund. Yeah, heck with that. The Texas model is fine to get business to Texas. We don't need to have the government picking winners and losers. The Texas Enterprise
Mr. Downton, same question.
Like CJ said, there are so many duplicative and unnecessary state agencies. One that jumped out to me when I was looking through them recently is the Office of Injured Employee Counsel. As if we don't have enough plaintiffs' lawyers in Texas willing to represent anyone who claims to have been injured, we don't need a whole state agency dedicated to doing that. There's also it's not aviary, some commission that regulates beekeepers. I don't know that we need to be regulating beekeepers in the state. If we do, I don't think we need a separate agency to do them. The government just needs to get out of the way. Texas is modeled on free enterprise. We need to get back to that focus.
Mr. Downton, go ahead and keep the microphone this time. This is just individual question for you. We're going to kind of sprinkle it throughout so that people don't get advantages over others. So please explain your opinion on zero-based budgeting and how that will impact your view of the state budgets you'll be asked to vote on if elected.
So zero-based budgeting, at least my understanding, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, is that every year, right now, each state agency does their budget by looking at what they spent the previous year, taking that as a given they were going to spend at least that much again, and how much do they want to add to what they were spending. The concept of zero-based budgeting is you start from zero, You look at your business, in this case your state agency, from the ground up, from scratch, every year, and you need to justify every aspect of your budget based on current operations, not what happened in the past. I think it is the way a business should be run, and it is the way the government should be run.
Thank you. Mr. Mays, mandates from Washington, D.C. have begun driving the state budget, mainly through Medicaid and other health care spending. What efforts will you support to bring about greater state and individual control in health care decision-making?
Well, I would continue not having a state fund for our Medicare, Obamacare option. We need to keep that. We've got Medicaid for kids through Obamacare, and we need to not add the adults for that. We need to resist, is another thing. Here, we have the state's rights, I believe, to not use Obamacare in Texas, to not obey Obamacare in Texas, to not follow Obamacare in Texas. And I think we should just reject Obamacare, period, in Texas.
All right, this is going to be again all three of you are going to answer this question. Taxing entities in Texas spend. I'm going to go ahead and start. I'm going to give it back to Mr. Mays. Yes. Taxing entities in Texas spend millions of dollars on hired lobbyists, often working to oppose taxpayer-led efforts at reform and burden relief. Should state law directly prohibit all taxing entities from using tax dollars to hire lobbyists? If so, why?
Well, yeah, they should, because we're using our tax dollars to lobby against us. And if I understand correctly, that's what you've done.
It is something that is near and dear to my heart,
Yes, and you've taken a lot of heat for it by refusing to entertain taxpayer lobbyists. So, yeah, I think that would be a good state law. And if I were elected senator, in that particular instance, I would follow your lead.
Thank you. And Mr. Downton? Go ahead.
It just seems like a matter of common sense. Elected officials are elected to listen to their constituents. Government agencies are hired to represent them. If a government agency or a school district needs to talk to their legislators, they can go talk to them. I see absolutely no reason why they need to pay somebody else to go do their job.
Thank you. Mr. Grisham?
I don't think there's a formal pledge out there anywhere, but I have taken upon myself a personal pledge in making this very public. I will not allow a single government lobbying organization, a public sector lobbying organization, into my office. I don't need government coming to government to ask for more government. We need less government.
This is just an individual question to you, Mr. Grisham. The Lieutenant Governor just last week placed tuition deregulation on his interim committee charges. What are your thoughts on tuition deregulation and how Texas can curb the inflating cost of tuition?
One of the problems we have with our education system right now is really what we saw full-fledged at the Democratic debates the other day is government trying to make everything free. And when you make everything free, and that adds more people into the pool and less resources, and so they have to charge more to keep the seats down. I support efforts that will create a more market-based system. Our universities should be competitive. They should be competitive not only in the talent pool that they have, but also in the pricing that they have. I know when my children were looking at schools, my daughter just finished her first year of college, price was one of those things that we looked at. And one of the reasons that colleges are so expensive right now, besides having to follow through with all of the state and federal mandates, is because of all the extra stuff that they have to pay for. For example, going to the legislator again and lobbying for more money. And so deregulation, I support deregulation, absolutely. I think that schools, if they are marketable, then they can thrive on their own. But obviously these are state schools, so we need to make them Texas-based, and there does need to be some oversight. But as far as what the Lieutenant Governor has done, from what I've read, and I have to admit I haven't looked into it deeply, but I support the idea.
Thank you. Go ahead and sit down to Mr. Downton. This will be a question for all three of you. Ending diversions was a great accomplishment the legislature made this past session. With the vote of SJR 5 quickly approaching in November, the topic of toll roads are on the forefront of discussion. What is your position on toll roads?
Sure. Can I touch briefly on education before I go
You've
back
got
to
3 minutes.
I'll combine them in three. Federal student loans are one of the worst things to happen in this country in the last 50 years. Under President Obama, we now have $1.3 trillion in federal student loan debt. That's what's driving higher tuition in this country. Parents and students think they get this free money, but then they find out when they graduate it's not free, it's unsustainable. It's going to be the next economic bubble to burst in the country. And I applaud the Lieutenant Governor for getting us back at looking at higher education funding. Toll roads, in my mind, roads should be free. At the same time, we don't have the money to pay for all the roads we need. We certainly should never toll any current free roads. If we're looking at new areas that we don't have adequate funding, I think we should look at all possibilities, including the possibility of tolls. I don't like them any more than you do, but I do think in our current transportation environment where there is not enough money for transportation, and I certainly don't want to raise taxes. Tolls are the equivalent of an end user consumption tax. It is the fairest way to raise money. I think we should be phasing out property taxes and replacing it with higher sales tax, because it's the fairest way to do it. Tolls are that type of fair process, as much as we all hate them.
Mr. Mayes, the same question.
I grew up in Fort Worth, and I think, I'm not positive, but I think the toll road between Fort Worth and Dallas was the first toll road in Texas. I didn't like it then, and I don't like toll roads now. I'm totally opposed to toll roads. There's a way that toll roads can work, but we don't use it. It's gotten so out of control that there's no hope for toll roads. What toll roads are doing now is double taxation. They tax us to build the roads, they tax us to ride the roads. They take a road that's already free, they add a toll to it, they tax it. It's a method of changing our behavior. They want to tax it so high that we can't ride on the road. Then they build a road, and they borrow money to build the road, and then they build another road, and they take the money from the first road to pay the debt on the second road, and then they build a third road, and they take that debt, and so you get to where you can never pay off the debt, and all we're doing is increasing our state debt and making it difficult. And it's not just a problem for urban Texas. What it does is this double taxation, this high cost of toll roads, is causing us in the rural District 24 not to have the roads we need. There's no money left because they spent it on toll roads.
Yes, Mr. Grisham?
So I agree. I hate toll roads as well. But I will tell you, I love going on one hand down to San Antonio and bypassing Austin. Because I feel smarter having gone around Austin. But let me tell you though, that $50 bill that you get in the mail is incredible. Now, I understand a limited time toll road for something like 130, if you guys have ever been on 130. That's a very convenient road that needed to be built to keep as many people out of Austin as possible. And, but what I don't support is me having to pay the Italians or the French, whoever owns that road. That's where my money's going. I do not support that. I don't want to be paying the French money. Once that toll road is paid for, there needs to be legislation that a toll road can only collect tolls until the debt that it costs to build it is gone. Try going to Houston and go anywhere without getting on a toll road. I adamantly oppose that because you can't get anywhere. And there's no choice. If you have no choice to travel without going through a toll road, then that's an unlawful, unconstitutional toll road, in my opinion. Same up in the DFW area in some places. You accidentally get on a toll road, and next thing you know, you've got a bill. And we just got a bill, I think last year, that was 3 years old. We had no idea what it was because we'd never been up on that road. And then we realized it was an old car because it was a different license plate number. So that's my feeling on tolls. I think they are good if we're going to build an extra road instead of raising taxes, use that consumption tax, because if people want to use that road to bypass a major artery or a major city, then it's a convenience. But once that road is paid off, that toll should go away.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, we'll start with Mr. Mayes. Universal pre-K was high on Governor Abbott's list of legislative goals. Where do you stand on this issue?
Same place I stand on in-state tuition for illegal aliens. I'm against it. Again, it's daycare. We don't need more daycare. It's worse than daycare. It'll end up being the beginning indoctrination of our children to change their attitudes. And I'm totally opposed to it. It was a mistake. I'm sorry he did it. What can I say?
Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Grisham. Go ahead.
You know, Abbott's got some great ideas, and he's got some boondoggles. And this idea of universal pre-K, I am adamantly 100% opposed to. I have 2 of my 3 kids are here. My 3rd just went on a mission up to Canada. And my wife did a very good job in their early years raising them without having the government tell them what to think. And quite frankly, in those early years, I don't need my 4-year-olds being taught about sexual ed classes, because you know that's going to come up, about you know what? It worked for hundreds of years, our little 12-year system. Let's keep it that way. Let our kids be kids early on. Let them enjoy their lives. And you know what? If a mother or father wants to educate their 3 or 4-year-old child at a pre-K or a 5-year-old, then they can get together with other moms and dads and create a little co-op and a little neighborhood pre-K, and they can do it themselves. And then they're in control of what their kids are being taught.
I think our public education system is failing our children. I think we have some of the highest property taxes in the country, yet the money's not properly going to our schools. I don't want a bureaucrat in Washington, D.C. telling people here in Temple, Texas what you need to teach your kids. I don't think we should be following Common Core. We should be doing our own educational system. So I see no reason to add an additional year of schooling that's going to require additional property taxes to pay for. My son went to pre-K. I paid for that. That was my decision. If parents choose to send their children to pre-K, they should have that option and ability. But I don't think as a state we need to increase the number of years in our public education system.
Thank you. Go ahead and keep the microphone. Yeah, go ahead and keep the microphone, please. Mr. Downton, state and local governments in Texas participate in so-called economic development programs that dole out millions of taxpayer dollars to corporations. What are your opinions on the necessity of these programs to attract jobs and investment to Texas? And will you support the continuation of these programs if elected?
So it depends on the program. If a program is paying out taxpayer dollars to attract businesses here, I'm opposed to it. If a program is telling a private company, if you come in and create X number of jobs, and people are going to be spending that money in the region, we'll give you a temporary reduction in the taxes you pay, that I can see the benefit of, because those are tax dollars that today do not exist. If that company does not come here, they don't pay any taxes. So for us to say for a certain number of years, we're going to give you 25% off your taxes, provided you create however many hundred jobs you've promised, I'm okay with that, as long as there's enforcement. I think that's an area the state's failed, that we haven't gone back and audited and seen if these companies have actually provided the jobs and spent on infrastructure as they promised. I think all of the contracts we enter into to do any abatements like that should have a mechanism where the company is required to pay back every dollar that they got in abatements if they fail to live up to their promises.
Mr. Mays, the same question. You alluded to it earlier, but go ahead.
Yeah, I'm against economic development programs. First of all, I don't think it's a core function of government. So, to me, that's enough. Second, the Texas model with low taxes, opportunity, and low regulation is working very well. Thank you. And as I said before, the same thing. I don't think government, and who loves it more than Obama, that government should be in the business of picking winners and losers in Texas. We've got a good state, we've got a good model. Let's continue to grow. We're the envy of the nation, the envy of the world. We don't need the economic development program.
Mr. Bishop?
I won't repeat a lot of that. I completely agree. If we're going to spend taxpayer money, locally we have a perfect example of how these programs fail the people and waste our money. We were supposed to be getting a Toyota plant here, and this city spent millions and millions of taxpayer dollars preparing for this Toyota plant to come to Temple, only after a few years for Toyota to say, we changed our mind. So devoting taxpayer money to invite a business in is not how you invite. If you have to do that, then there's already something wrong with the economic development of this state. So if you're a great city that's got a great tax plan, and a great state that's got a great tax plan, and a great economic